On today's IRS tax update, we finally received a long overdue update from the IRS on the remaining tax return backlog, including amended returns, so we'll take a look at that. Meanwhile, the IRS has also released new guidance for those who have been waiting on their paper tax returns to be processed for more than 6 months, so I'll recap what they're now saying and how it is conflicting with what they previously stated. We'll also check in on the ongoing situation of direct deposit tax refunds being issued only for tax processor TPG to return them back to the IRS to be sent out as a paper check instead, as well as ERC claims and new 1099-K income rules. Now, as mentioned, the IRS, after an extended delay, has finally released an update on the remaining tax return backlog and amended tax return backlog, and generally good news to report as the overall backlog is now finally below 1 million to 945,000 regular tax returns remaining. 900,000 of those are e-file returns and those requiring special processing, while there are another only 45,000 paper tax returns left. In comparison, at this point last year, the total number was over 7 million returns remaining, so a huge improvement from last year. Meanwhile, amended returns are now at 894,000 remaining, lower than the previous update by about 60,000 returns, so we were expecting a slightly larger drop, but nonetheless, those are also down compared to the previous update. Huge progress for those waiting on their employer's tax returns to be processed, as the total amount of unprocessed employee returns is down to now just 9,000 remaining. As of our last update, there were nearly 400,000 left, so again, significant progress. However, the one item of concern is amended employee returns, which rose to 735,000 unprocessed, and our last update it was 637,000, so nearly a 100,000 increase. For those waiting on the IRS to process their ITIN applications, the IRS has announced they're now processing applications received in the month of August. Now, for those of you paper return filers who've been waiting 6 months or longer on that refund without any updates, including movement on your tax transcripts and refund status results, the IRS is now stating that you should resubmit your tax return electronically if possible, and to make sure if it is a paper tax return that it includes an original signature and all documents needed. Now, this is different from what the IRS has stated previously, but also what they state right below this recommendation as seen here, which is please don't file your tax return again unless you receive a notice from the IRS asking you to resubmit a new copy of your tax return signed. So once again, this is conflicting information right on the IRS website on what to do. Now, until the IRS corrects this statement on their website, the best course of action is to contact the IRS first and to confirm whether or not you need to resubmit your tax return for processing. The reasons being is this the previous guidance from the IRS, but also as of this recording, there's still nearly 50,000 unprocessed paper returns, which could include yours. And if the IRS receives a duplicate, it can lead to even further refund delays as well as processing delays. Taxpayers, including a number of our viewers, continue to report their tax refunds were issued only to then be returned back to the IRS by tax processor TPG so that they could be sent out as a paper check. Now, even though you may have never heard of TPG, they're the processors that several large tax companies such as TurboTax and TaxSlayer use for refund processing. And as we've reported over the last several months, a number of taxpayers are being impacted by the problem of having their refunds returned to the IRS. Now, the main question that remains is how long will it take for those refunds to be sent out as a paper check, and that will depend on why it was sent back to the IRS in the first place. If TPG did not send your tax refund back to the IRS as flagged, then it will be sent out as a paper check by the IRS 4 to 6 weeks after they receive it back. But do note that's 4 to 6 weeks after they get it back, and it could take TPG more than a month to get it back to the IRS. So all in all, expect it could take anywhere from 2 to 3 months to receive that paper check, again if there are no flags. Now, if TPG does return it as flagged back to the IRS, this is where it could take 5 months or longer to receive your refund because the refund is being sent back to the IRS for additional review by the Return Integrity Verifications Operations Unit, and you getting that refund will depend on what happens during that review of the tax return. We're seeing a high level of improper claims being filed this year, from the Earned Income Tax Credit to the Fuel Tax Credit, so the IRS is ramping up enforcement and reviews of these tax returns to make sure legitimate refunds are being issued. If your refund was returned as flagged, expect possible requests for IRS documentation to substantiate the credits you're attempting to claim. As a reminder, the IRS has indicated they will no longer allow anyone attempting to claim the Employee Retention Credit until at least next year. Now, the credit, which saw 3.6 million claims over the course of the program, has in recent months seen high amounts of improper claims being filed in regards to those credits. It should be noted the ERC is worth up to $26,000 per worker, and is a refundable tax credit for businesses that continue to pay employees while their company ended up being shut down during the height of the pandemic or had significant decline in gross receipts from March of 2020 through December of 2021. Now, even though companies can go back and claim this credit for income in 2020 and 2021, what is alarming is 600,000 claims for ERC have been filed in just the last 3 months and has been a cause of significant concern that the IRS had to put a pause on the program. The IRS has already initiated investigations involving nearly $3 billion in ERC claims, with criminal cases having been opened and audits for those claiming ERC already taking place. The IRS said its processing will continue for those who've already filed with the IRS. Also, now the IRS has announced plans to offer a new withdrawal program to enable small businesses to end a pending claim if the businesses now realize they might have been tricked into filing and do not qualify for that credit. The IRS was previously quoting wait times on ERC reviews of 90 days, but since then has adjusted that time frame to 6 months. For those of you who sold more than $600 this year from anything like concert and sports tickets to goods and services and used online platforms such as Venmo, PayPal, eBay, and Etsy, you can expect to receive a 1099-K form like seen here, which you will need to file on your federal taxes next year as a result to changes in the tax law. It is estimated over 40 million of these forms will be going out at the end of the year, and if the amount sold is over $600, you must report it as income on your federal taxes as a result. Now, if you transferred money for personal reasons on one of these platforms, such as reimbursements or loans, that is not to be counted as part of the $600 amount. However, there's concern even those transactions will be accidentally listed on that 1099-K form, which will require additional steps by you to clarify that is the case with the IRS. Now, this new rule was supposed to take effect last year, but because of the confusion and uncertainty, it was pushed back a year. But there's definitely a potential this could be the next big problem for the 2024 tax season that could delay refunds as a result of taxes not properly reconciling. Let us know in the comment section below about your ongoing tax issue. In the meantime, we'll keep monitoring the situation for further developments, so make sure to click on the thumbs up and subscribe button below for future updates on this channel, and thanks for watching.